Hey guys, I'm Thoại and I'm Foxdrop's brother. I also make videos on my own channel, but today I'm going to be making one for you guys. Now most of you are probably junglers, right? And learning a new role, especially from the jungle to a lane, can be pretty difficult, which is why I put together a list of the best champions to play if you don't main the role. Now these picks will also stand you a good chance of winning the game still, so let's jump straight into the first role. Now I'm an AD carry main. It's one of the hardest to pick up too, so of course we're going to start here. Now there are three sides to being a good AD carry, I think. Attacking a lot, using your abilities properly, and positioning. Ezreal is mostly an ability based AD carry. He can do a lot of damage from quite high range, which means your positioning doesn't have to be as good. Partly because you can do damage from range, but also because of his E, his arcane shift. He's very forgiving. If you make a mistake, you're probably not going to die for it. You don't really need to know how to attack move to get started on Ezreal. Most of your damage will be coming from your Q, especially if you play the blue build, and it will also be teaching you the value of kiting properly. Ezreal is very safe in lane. You can farm and you can poke from range with your Q, and it really means that you can't fall too far behind even if you do make a few mistakes. The next AD carry, Caitlyn, is mostly an auto attack based AD carry. It really teaches you the value of attacking a lot and getting as many auto attacks in as possible. She's very strong in lane, and part of that is because of her high range. She can just poke and poke and poke, and she doesn't really take any return damage either. She does have some mobility, not as much as Ezreal, but some with her net, and she's very simple to play. She only has like one skill shot, okay, kind of two if you count her net, but she has an ultimate that's point and click and a zone tool with her W. Caitlyn is great for teaching you firstly the value of auto attacks, but also teaching you the value of positioning in team fights. Your high range is going to make this easier, which is nice, but you do need to be auto attacking to do any damage, which means you have to be a little closer to the danger and you need to position correctly. Moving over to the mid lane, we really want to learn how to lane properly, how to roam, and then how to have a high teamfight impact. Annie is probably the most simple champion in the entire game, really. Your impact is very easy. You just flash ult in team fights, and it's very straightforward to do, but very straightforward to know what to do as well. She has a very strong lane phase, like she has good damage, she has a stun which makes trading pretty easy, and she also has a Q which makes it easy to CS with as well. She doesn't really have any skill shots. Okay, you kind of have your ultimate, but that is very hard to miss. Like even Foxdrop would struggle to miss that ultimate. Moving into the mid game, she has very high damage, and you can even shift your build a little bit to match your playstyle. Like you can build a Rod of Ages to help you sustain and be a bit tankier if you really are new to the mid lane role. She's very good at roaming for kind of the same reasons as she's good at team fights, and you can even build like mobility boots on her or boots of swiftness and roam around the map and just kill everyone that way. Ahri is a bit more complicated kind of, but she's way more forgiving than Annie. She has very high mobility and very safe. She's very good at pushing the wave, which is the #1 way to kind of shut down the enemy mid laner, and then she can escape if you do get ganked. You do have more skill shots in comparison to Annie, but late game you don't even really need to hit them all, honestly. Like you have a lot of damage packed into your kit anyway, and if you hit most of them, then you'll still be doing good damage. She's very good at roaming, even probably better than Annie because she can gap close with that ultimate. I've always joked about it, but honestly, Ahri can probably gap close an entire screen worth of distance before you can really do anything with that ultimate. One of the reasons I recommend her all the time is because she's good at every stage throughout the game. She has a good strong lane phase, she has a good strong mid game, and she doesn't fall off late game either, so you can have a high impact the entire way through the game. Now for the top lane, you have these kind of carry laners, and you have basically just tanks. Tanks are designed to shut down these carry laners and also the carries in the rest of the game. They become unkillable and then they impact the rest of the map. You don't really need to do too much as a tank to still be useful in the game. Even if you fall behind, you're still going to be useful, and it's definitely the more consistent playstyle to start while you learn the lane. Malphite is a really good example. He's a great anti-carry with his attack speed slow and armor stacking. He's very easy to have an impact with because of that ultimate. Like everyone knows, you just point and click the ultimate, you hit their carries, and then you're away. He's actually pretty forgiving in lane too. You can ultimate away. Even if you take bad trades, you're probably not going to notice it too much because you're stacking so much armor. His biggest job really is just to engage and use that massive ultimate of his. Like engaging a team fight is one of the best things for solo queue. The team that engages first is normally the team that comes out on top. Like either you remove their carries from the fight or you just pick a 5-on-4. It's just one of the best things. So having an ability to actually engage is really good. He still does decent damage even when building pure defense, which is pretty silly honestly. It's why Malphite is one of the top tier picks in the top lane right now, and he becomes very hard to kill. Shen is also very similar in a lot of ways to Malphite, like he becomes very hard to kill, he still does decent damage, but he is the true team player top laner. He does surprising damage in lane, especially if you build like a Sunfire first, but the good thing is that you can either build magic resist or armor first depending on what he needs. He's actually a pretty flexible pick. The really good thing is obviously his ultimate. It helps to impact the entire map without really doing much. Like all you're doing is pressing R, and you don't really have to be proactive with it. You can be reactive, so you wait for the enemy team to do something and then you press R and you turn the fight around. He's pretty forgiving to play in lane. If you make a mistake, you have a dash, you can dash away from ganks, and you're also building a lot of defense, which means it's hard to kill you anyway. It kind of helps to learn the lane phase properly and test your limits. Even in team fights, you're still going to have a pretty high impact, which is good for a tank. Like some tanks kind of fall off because they can be ignored, but not with Shen. You have a taunt, you have your ultimate shield on your carry too. And finally, now looking at supports, especially in season 6, your biggest job is really to try and help your AD carry get ahead, or at least not die during the laning phase. While you're learning how to lane properly, how to pressure, and how to have like a big impact mid game, we can look at champions who generally keep even the worst AD carry players alive. Taric is going to be first up. He has a targeted stun, and you can screw it up, you can hit minions, but it's very hard to actually do that. You have a heal, you're very tanky. It doesn't matter really too much about getting poked in lane because you don't actually take very much damage. He's very simple to play. He's kind of like the Annie of supports, and just like Annie, he can still have a pretty decent impact in the game. He actually still does decent damage actually. Like your stun, W, and ultimate combo will probably half health the enemy AD carry most of the time, which is actually just ridiculous. Naturally, you have a lot of pressure, kind of like Blitzcrank, because people are afraid of your stun. If you just like posture forward a little bit, it gives your AD carry some breathing room even if you don't actually use your stun. Striker is a bit more risky. You have to be a bit more careful about them focusing you because obviously you can't heal yourself anymore. The good thing is though, you will let your AD farm and probably even get kills just by healing them over and over again. It's actually really hard to play against the Soraka now. The ultimate is going to give you free assists. You see someone dying or a gank pulling off and they're about to kill them, just hit your ultimate and you get some free gold, which is really nice. She's very simple. Again, you just heal people and then you hit the enemies with your Q. Like that's basically her lane phase in a nutshell. The good thing though with Soraka actually, and why she's kind of a top tier pick now anyway, is because her science is actually very strong. Like it can stop ganks, it can set up kills. Putting that in the middle of a team fight can really actually screw everyone over. That is the other thing as well. She has a very high team fight impact. It's not just about getting your AD carry through the lane phase. It's about keeping the rest of your team alive in team fights, silencing them, AoE healing. It's just a really good pick at the moment. Now, I'm not going to go into the junglers in too much detail because most of you are honestly probably junglers anyway, and Foxshop can give you a much better in-depth idea of who to play if you're new, but I'd personally suggest either Volibear or Master Yi to start with. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out my own channel. I put out about 5 videos a week that help with general solo queue, other roles, or tier lists or underrated picks, things like that. Anyway, remember to leave a like and subscribe to Fox here, and I'll catch you in another video.